Good evening, everyone. This is Gaurav from IMS Pune, and I'm here to take you through the analysis of the Maharashtra BBA-CET, the second and the third slot, the afternoon and the evening slot. So I'm guessing students from the third slot at least. So when I talk to some of the students from the second slot, some of them did get a chance to watch the videos. The others, they were already there at the center for their exam. But the students from the third slot that I talked to, they were they got a pretty good idea about the difficulty level and the question types that they would be able to expect in their slot. And before I proceed, let me tell you that in terms of the pattern, the number of questions, there were slight differences, though not too many. And it's those differences that I just want to tell you about. And then towards the end, we'll just compare all of the three slots, and then we'll see what to expect when the results are out. All right. So let's begin now. In terms of the paper pattern, so in terms of the total, let's say the total number of questions, the division of the total questions across the sections, that did not change in slot 2 and 3. The total number of questions were 100 in number. 40 questions in the English section, 30 questions in the reasoning sections, 15 in general knowledge and awareness, and 15 in computer basics. Marking scheme remained the same. I did not talk to any students who experienced any technical glitches, any technical snags during the test. So that again went smoothly. The interface here was smooth. Difficulties were not reported. The time was 90 minutes. So no change in the pattern, no unexpected surprises in the second and third slot in terms of the pattern were encountered. But there were some changes, specific changes in the number of questions across question types within the section. So let's look at the English section first. In the second slot, the number of RC questions had reduced. There were 2 passages, but unlike the first slot, the number of questions was 8. So the synonym, antonym, and the grammar questions were slightly higher in number in the English section of the second slot. In the third slot, there were 10 questions. The number of passages remained the same. So the number of questions for RC, they changed across the slots. They were made up by the number of the questions from the vocabulary subsection. So synonym, antonym questions were there in both the second and the third slot. Phrasal verbs were asked in both the second and the third slot. Active passive voice questions were asked in the second slot. Question tags were asked in the second slot. So which means the grammar questions covered a wide variety of question type. Tenses were asked, prepositions were asked, and the fill in the blanks questions were vocabulary questions. As far as the level of difficulty was concerned, the questions were very easy. So there's one particular question I remember from the first slot, the synonym of open, the synonym of arrive. These were questions that were asked in the second slot as well. So no one reported the VA section, the English section being difficult for either of the remaining slots. So I would say yes, out of 40, over 35 questions could be attempted easily with a lot of time to spare, right? That was again a common feedback across sections that for some students, the paper was so easy that they had a lot of time to spare, anywhere between 15 to even 30 minutes before the test was over. So comfortably, you could easily attempt 35 plus questions with a very good accuracy because the difficulty level was very easy for the second as well as the third slot. The scoring questions would have been the grammar questions, right? Because it's easier to select answers and it's easier to eliminate options. Then I would say the vocabulary questions, if you have been practicing vocabulary enough, you could rely on them. But the reading comprehension passages, the level of difficulty of the passages was also very easy. So no issues in the English section there. Moving on to the next section, the reasoning section. verbal and arithmetic. 30 questions in all across both the sections. Now for the second section, the arithmetic questions were hardly 2 or 3 in number. The students that I talked to, they reported that they were so easy that they did not have to even use the rough paper for any form of calculation. The questions were very easy. BOD-mass based questions, basic arithmetic ratios, questions on ratios that were very, very easy, that did not require any complex operations or that did not require any calculation. There were some errors in one of the questions in the second slot. So it remains to be seen what the organizers do about that question. Again, so in the reasoning part, in the second section, it was reported that you had those basic expected verbal reasoning question types like your strong and weak arguments, implicit statements, questions related to critical reasoning like strengthen and weaken the argument questions were also there. All of the other question types reported from the first set, if you watch the analysis video of the first set, those question types are also present. The verbal reasoning questions of this section were easy across both the slots. The logical reasoning questions, the coding, decoding, blood relation, arrangement questions, they could also be attempted very easily without struggling with them too much. The second and the third slot, the reasoning section for both the slots were easy. Again, out of 30, you could easily attempt over 25 questions with an 80, 85, 90% accuracy and score very well. Moving on to the general knowledge and awareness question. Now, so there's slight difference between the feedback for the second and the third slot for the GK question. So for the second slot, the GK section was very easy. A few students that I talked to from the third slot, they mentioned that the GK section was slightly challenging in the third slot. But almost everyone mentioned that if you had read the compendium from the GK zone, you could easily attempt over half the questions in the GK section. And without the compendium, you could still go for about 7 to 8 questions out of 15 comfortably. And if you had read the compendium, you could go up to 12, 13 questions out of 15 questions from both the slots. Dates were asked, appointments, who was appointed to what post, and people heading certain organizations, that was not asked prominently in the second slot. So days like the World Environment Day, etc., important dates were asked. The questions were in the same vein as those in the first slot: Nobel Prize, Olympics, Banks of India, locations, important crops. So the questions included static GK questions as well as current affairs questions. But yes, if you had read the compendium on the GK zone of the website, this section would have been very easy for you in the second slot. In the third slot, some students have reported that it was slightly more challenging. But again, if you had read the compendium, even for the third slot, the questions would have been very easy. Moving on to the computer basics section. Across slots, this section was completely easy. Again, you could rely completely on the resources provided by IMS for this section as well. Basic input, output devices, data storage, full form, memory, computer basics that you would have studied in your school. Out of 15 questions, again, with the help of the compendium, you could easily cross 12, 13 attempts with extremely high accuracy in this section as well. Right? Which means the overall analysis for all of the sections. Across the sections, not a single student who had, at least out of all of the students who had prepared well, who had practiced well, who had taken the mocks, no one reported any unexpected surprises or any daunting question types. The difficulty level was easy across sections. Out of 100, easily you could score a score of above 85. all the sections to get taken together, which means we can expect the cutoff, of course, to be high. The result of this exam is expected to come out by mid-June. And the process after that, your respective centers will inform you about what is to be done, about the further process. You will be guided as and when the official notifications are out. As of now, students who had been preparing for this test, you can take a sigh of relief. You have some time to breathe now before the process resumes, before the application, the document verification process begins. So for all of you, most of you, it was a good day. It was a productive day. I'm sure you took the exam. You went out of the exam hall with a positive feeling, with a good feeling, because you did not struggle in the exams. So, but when the scorecards are out, we will have a better idea about what the cutoffs are going to be. And then when the scorecards are out, please get in touch with your respective mentors, your centers, about your college preferences and applications and your options. Please do get in touch with your mentors without wasting much time as soon as the scorecards are out. And on that note, I'm going to end this session. All the best to all of you for the results. And some of you I'll talk to after the scorecards are out. So see you guys. Thank you for attending this analysis. Have a good day.